Gigantic mural to go on that wall, and it is huge. I'll give you the details of size in a few moments, but here's Trevor and Simon with some more info.
What are you doing now then, Simon?
I'm drawing a fox eating a cherry.
Oh yeah, what for?
For the BBC mural.
Mural?
Yeah.
What category does that come under then, a fox eating a cherry?
Well, none really, it's just the only thing I can draw.
All right, well you know there's three categories for this competition.
No.
Yes there is. There's communication in the 90s.
A fox on a telephone?
No, forget the fox, eh? The other category is nations shall speak unto nations.
How about all the nations gathered around a big bowl of cherries, all eating them and talking?
Forget the cherries. And the third category is television in our lives.
I know, big picture of David Attenborough.
Well, maybe.
Feeding a fox.
No,
with a cherry.
Forget the foxes and forget the cherries, because anyway, this is no good.
Why not?
Look at the size of it.
That's all right.
It's going to fill the whole wall. That's the whole idea. Look. Simon, come on, Simon, I'm sorry. Simon. Sorry.
Sorry, no, I can't do the whole wall.
No, I'm sorry to shock you. I know that you realise it would have taken you about 6 months and then you'd have a really achy wrist.
No, it's just that my permanent marker pen's about to run out.
Oh, I see. There's one more problem though, you realise.
What's that?
You're far too old.
No.
Yeah, this competition is for 16-year-olds and under.
And I'm 17.
And a half.
Yeah, well.
So there's Television Centre, and if we look over to the right, there is the wall. Here are the categories. This is what you've got to start thinking about to decorate that gigantic expanse of wall. It's open to you or a group or a class aged 16 and under to get thinking about very large designs to go on that wall here at Television Centre in London. The other categories, and here are the themes. What about communications in the 90s? Maybe you could have a go at that. The BBC motto is nation shall speak peace unto nation. Perhaps you could incorporate that as well. What about television and our lives? You could maybe use that as your theme, or you could combine all three of them. Also, think about the line of the building, the way the building is. Perhaps you could incorporate your mural with the same sort of idea of the way the building is designed. That sort of a thing. So basically, those are the categories. Communications in the 90s, or nation shall speak peace unto nation, or TV in our lines. You've got to go for a big, bold design, not lots of little ones, because you've seen the size of it. You see, Simon's fox didn't really work there. It's got to be very, very big and bold. The size of the wall, if you're interested, here's the facts. It is 1,232 square meters. 1,232 square meters. The closing date is the 27th of March, and once more, it's open to you if you're a group or a class aged 16 and under. The very best of luck. Get designing a mural for that wall. Who knows, we might end up in the Guinness Book of Records, but we don't know. Here's the address. It is going live, BBC Television, London W12 7RJ. Get your entries into us. Remember the closing date, the 27th of March. Can't wait to see them. Now, Sarah.
That's going to be a very exciting competition. We've got some very exciting items on the table and even more exciting people. Hilary and Hugh from the Antiques Roadshow, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, what are the things that people should be collecting now, Hilary, to be antiques of the future?
Well, I would say that you've got to look at the era that you're in. You're looking at the 80s and the 90s. Now, what is that era going to be remembered for? Is it going to be remembered for instance, turtles, or is it going to be remembered for microchip technology? Now, I think that the 80s, I don't know what you think, Hugh, but it was the decade of enormous expansion in the microchip business. And these sort of things, these little microchip games, which I'm sure a lot of the viewers have got. It seems you've got a lot at the studio. You obviously get very bored and play with them, but these
No, we offer them as prizes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we don't get bored in the studio. I wish there was time. No.
But I think this sort of thing, I'm not saying this exact one, but if you look at your era and say, now what in 50 years' time is my decade going to be remembered for, I have a feeling that the 80s are going to be remembered for microchip technology in its smallest form, and this is one of them.
It's one of the most powerful motives in collecting is nostalgia. For some reason, people like, probably all of us too, like having around us things that we grew up with. And so the things that were around when I was a boy, things like dinky toys and those boxes of lead soldiers, that I never thought when I was a boy would ever be valuable or collectible, now many of them fetch hundreds of pounds.
Yes, it is that nostalgia
It's
thing, isn't it? I
nostalgia,
mean, as
yes.
I look across the table, I can see a spaceman, and I can remember some of my cousins having a robot very like that. And I wonder if they've still got it. I mean, how much would that be worth now?
Well, because that's in really fantastic condition.
When is that? What year
And
was that
working.
made, Hilary?
Between about 1963 and 1965, that is going to be worth perhaps £600 or £700. Now that is a very rare robot, believe it or not. But again, it's showing, it's very indicative of the 60s, which was a time for major space expansion and exploration. And this type of toy is exactly the sort of thing that people are looking back to the 60s and remembering.
How much would that have cost in the early 60s?
In comparison, about the same in money terms as these sort of games. I mean, it was about 10 old shillings in the 60s, which
50
might
pence.
be, yes, 50 pence, which might
would now
be
be?
perhaps 10, 12, 15 pounds, something in that.
And now it's worth maybe 600, 700.
It was a good buy.
Yes.
And then something like that, which is tied in with a popular hero, Indiana Jones.
Well, yes, he was answering the phones for us actually a couple of weeks ago. I'll just take the price up there. Well, no, actually, it says £14.99.
Wow.
Which is
Now.
very equivalent, you
Yes,
see,
yes.
as far as comparison is
In
concerned.
maybe 20 years' time, that will be a collector's item.
I'm saying this type,
This type
not
of
that
thing.
exact, not this exact
you
one.
see, I'm learning.
A
These are the
type.
things you have to be very careful about. Now, you've also got underneath your elbow something which, I mean, we give away a lot of signed albums. We don't give them away, but the artists who appear on the programme will often give away signed albums, signed T-shirts, signed guitars, in fact, sometimes. Now, what could those sort of things be worth? I mean, let's look at that one, A Single Man, Elton John. That was 1978, I think, wasn't it?
Yes.
I think so, yes.
Well, this is one of Elton John's best, most popular albums. I won't say his best, but this was signed by Elton John, and in fact the person who owned it and who's put it in for sale won it in a competition, which is how she got hold of it. But a signed album by Elton John of this type, we're talking about £200, £300. And I mean, some signed
And that is
albums...
simply because it's been signed.
Right, and because it's got its record inside and it's in good condition, but there are some signed albums for groups even earlier, like the Beatles, for instance, or the Rolling Stones, which can fetch getting on for £1,000. And guitars, I sold a guitar from a very well-known 1960s guitarist called Jimi Hendrix, which went for nearly £200,000.
Good Lord.
So, although one's talking about comparatively recent date, if there are a lot of people out there that want something, the price is really going to go
That's the thing
sky
that pushes
high.
the price
That's
up,
right.
is how much it's desired by
Yeah.
other people as well. So hang on to all those signed albums and signed T-shirts that get given away as prizes on this programme. I think that's the message there. And perhaps onto the little electronic games as well.